You've probably seen this particular new redesign of the mountains in Sentus Mountains in that video where I had a bug in Visual C++ where creating variables glitches it out, causing drawing not to work, but ending up creating extra variables ends up fixing it, which is really, really weird. But anyway, you might be wondering, how do I go about creating mountains and stuff with all this noisy and all these fades and stuff like that? Well, these are the closest mountains in this particular world anyway. And you might notice this oddball here, and all 256s, but you got this odd 512 here. There's actually a good reason for that. I'm working on that layer. So, well, you might have also seen the video where I actually create hills, right? Well, mountains pretty much follow the same routine. Basically form the actual shape. Mountains are a lot rougher. In this particular area, yeah, they're quite rough, unlike the smooth old mountains seen in the first few worlds. So yeah, these are got a lot more jagged edges to them. And, that's an interesting size. 1536? Well, it's actually a way to cut back on memory usage. Because after all, you might be wondering, why is there a top and bottom on here? Why can't I just use this? Well, it's part of the solution to my long ago malloc problem that I had that I could never get to work. So I have a 3.5 megabyte slot, and this just happens to use exactly 3.5 megs. The rest of that goes toward this one. And that's basically where that comes from. Because if I went with this, then I'd have to increase the array size, which inevitably is going to cause wasted memory. But then again, it could make the Ferris wheel and Carnivalista bigger, if you know what I mean. But either way, from the making of the hills, just simply follow the procedure for making them. And, yep, everything here is really nothing different. However, things are different with the mountains. As usual, I do need to do this part. And one thing you might also be noticing. Okay, why is it dark gray and white instead of the dark green and light green? Easy. And for mountains, instead of doing the grass like this, I do the lighting first. So that way I get where the bounds and stuff are, because otherwise going something like this, it really ain't gonna work. But that is the next step in the process. But like with the hills, I want to align these in a way so that I get that nice overall appearance. And this is the tallest one. Let's see, just to approximate it here. KC 393. That's left. Really sharp pointed one. How about over here? 546 right. Really ain't gonna see much. And with this here, nope, that ain't gonna work. What was this one? I'm gonna get the same thing either way, so it ain't gonna make a difference. This, maybe? Kind of like that. Okay, so 343 to the right. You remember how that's done, right? And if I need better contrast, what I usually do is I make this like 50 or 60. I usually go with 60, and then I move them accordingly. Well, we'll kind of show you what I mean. Let's see, that was 343 if I remember. Whoa, too much. Okay, 343. Copy that. Going off the edge, if that's any indication. Okay, that matches. Off over to here. Paste that, realign, and check the consequences or the results. Okay, that's not too bad. Of course, with the Sentus Mountains, these are going to be up so much more. Let's see. I don't even have calculator up. So in that case, I gotta do some math. Let's see, the new height is based on 4096 times 9, if I remember. Because in case you're wondering, these things are actually 12.5% taller. And boy, I was stunned as to just how huge these things are. Then again, you have to keep in mind, I have 0 experience with mountains, much like beaches too. Public, massive, highly dense public beaches in particular. But either way, let's see. It would be a divide 512, so it goes up 72. So it's basically like this. Of course, it got offset a little bit. Could I go a little more? Cancel, that's not important. But anyway, that just gives you the idea, and that's what I cared for. So, when I'm done, okay, I duplicate this layer. We'll hide this one, of course, too. Move that down. I call this one lighting lit. What's so special about that? Well, anyway, I'll get to that a little bit later. And I duplicate it again. And a lot of duplication. And it's this one that's next, the rock. Okay. And since I want to get that particular color, that's where this particular tool is used for. So, wrong mode. Bucket fill, whole selection, and it seems like nothing even happened. It did, if you notice this. That's because I got these on the top. Okay, but one thing I need to do is I need to take this color. And notice that it changed the divide here. Oh yes, that's probably the reason. Notice the 219. It's kind of screwy, but that's what the calculations came out to. Notice that I did both of these. Bucket fill that. Then I choose divide there, lighting. This is where I get the darkening effect. And hey, there you have it. Or at least there's that part of it. Well, what about the snow and the grass? And the other such things? Well, that's the next step in the process for making mountains. And wise to save, since I made quite a bit of progress. Open his layer, and well, what is with all this? Seems kind of strange. And if this is any hint, this is based on a scaling of, remember what my system is? Yep, it's 4. So in this case, I call it, not that, mounts the scaling, and pick something for now, I don't care what. However, these things have an elevation that I need to consider. And that's where I've got it contained in my notes here. This is World 10. Okay, let's see here. That's KCU for kilo coordinate units, or 1,000 coordinate units. Large numbers, it kind of has its effect. That's 1 mile, 2 mile, 2.5, and 3.5. Exact. 36,000 coordinate units is exactly 1 mile, in case you're wondering. High elevation, so this is what the elevation is based on, 19,028. Okay, that's all I needed to know. And 19,028, and remember, that's in coordinate units. This had a base scaling of 4, so I gotta take that into account, and that's the number of pixels. Okay, so what's the significance of that? Easy. Boundary, aye, that's tall like crazy. Yeah, that's pretty tall, alright. The width I keep the same. But what I need to do is I need to take this and subtract that. So in that case, I'll just do that. Subtract it off the bat. Ignore the hyphen in the front. The negative sign, that is. And there's that. Except, this is where the top of the image is. And the bottom is what's actually being cut off. That is actually exactly what I need. I do not need the bottom part of it. So, that part's good. That's that part. Now, the next part is I need to scale this so it matches the relative scaling of this. Was 4, now it's 512. 512 divided 4 means 128. There's just one problem. This is not a multiple of 128. To fix that, I divide by 128, and then I take this, ignoring the hyphen, and round it up. So that would be 209. 209 times 128, and that's the value I actually use here. Very slight, but still makes a difference. Whoops. One thing I forgot to do is expand it on here. Forgot it's that. So, let's see. It's now being extended onto the bottom, but I don't want that. I need it on the top. Because the bottom is already set, because we factored the scaling and the such in for that, right? Remember? Okay, well here's this. That same number is there. Yes, I do a lot of math when it comes to artwork, and boy do I mean a lot. And this is the point where I can actually scale the image. Take that number, divide 128 in case I forgot what it was, and it becomes 209. This has to remain the same still. Make sure that's linear. Okay, where did it go? Answer, way up there. Why this program glitches like that or something? It needs kind of a design change. It's not really a glitch, it's just by design in this case. But it's an annoying one. It's always centered. It should be centered in the screen area is what I would say. But either way, if you look real closely, yep, you can see where the grass is in the lake. So, okay, let's look at it. Get it so you can see it better. See, it's all 255s here, with this being an odd exception, of course. But if you get up high enough, hey, the alpha starts changing. See how it's 252 here, it's 254, and then it's all 255s at the bottom? Well, that's what that chopping off of that almost 5,000 was for. So, move this over here. This is what I love about the 2.2 version. I can scroll off the image so fast. But either way, I position it here, so this part's at the very bottom. Notice that it got darkened. Well, that's because it's beneath this layer in particular. Yep. There's the top part of the snow. Now I duplicate it. This is where the snow one comes in. Because this one's already processed, so it's already cleared and ready to, all good to go. So, one side, this side's got the snow. This is where I change this to 1. Snow was on the right, so I need to account for that. Okay, hide that. And repeat the same on here, but do not change that, because that's the grass. And now I scale it to the width of the image, which in this case, miss again, is 1536. And linear in this case doesn't matter because that's originally 1 pixel. Because otherwise you'll get a gradient from that. And positioning's all good. Make sure it's especially the case in the corner there. And duplicate the procedure on here. Okay. Except, why isn't it going all the way up to the top? Easy. I need to heighten it. And these are 288. This needs to get moved all the way down because I want to extend upwards. And for this, 236. There's actually a reason for that. That's because this ended up having transparency at the top, and it inevitably ended up transparent there. This looks a lot brighter. But then again, that's what this one's doing. So, make this whole thing here a solid version of that color. See? 255 there. Bucket fill. All that part up there. And that part's all set. Now, the next part is where, well, if you look at these closely, you can see how I got this randomization here, really nice here, where you get the random patches of snow that increases with increasing elevation. After all, space is so cold. It's cold beyond belief. So, how do I get that on here? Because after all, if you look here, you can't see anything. Zoom in, then you can't see anything even yet. There's actually a way I do that. And that is, well, first, wise to save. Filters, noise, spread. And there's actually an algorithm I use for that. For this. In this case, I actually use 8. Where does that come from? Well, the 256 is actually used as 16. And I do it not once, not twice, not 5 times, still not even 10 times, but 16 times. I match it, exactly. Here, it's 8 times. Okay, that was 1. Not too bad. 2. Okay. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now it otherwise matches the same system as this, but the grass is not done. Same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there you have it. That's all there is for that. Of course, if you look at the random mess here, it's easy to see where it's all like, well, I call it grass, but it could be forests and stuff too. But at least it does give you the idea. But since this is otherwise done, the final stage of the process is to clear away out this unwanted part. And that's easy enough to do. Mess. Okay, there's that. Now, the final step of the process is to duplicate this one last time. And this is the actual final result that I'll be getting. Of course, well, in this case it doesn't matter. Image, flatten, yeah, except I usually use a black background because it does help cut on the file size just a little bit. Copy, paste, select this only, zoom out so I can see, paste, clear, and it's all set. And why did I flatten the image? It actually improves accuracy because merge visible layers doesn't have the accuracy. I don't know why, but well, I do know why. It's because fractions are ignored. If there's a .9 at the end, it's getting dropped instead of being rounded up like it normally should be. But then again, it's a weakness in the 2.2 version of GIMP. But this layer of mountains is done, and now all I gotta do is import it into the game engine. And just out of curiosity, 1536 times 288. Okay, I can use just a single one of those for that. That's no problem there. That's why I went for 1536 instead of 2048. And one other thing I had to consider, the gap between this particular world, at least world 10, the mountains in there go up so high, you'll actually be able to stand on a mountain that's almost 25,000 feet high. Seriously. And Sentus Mountains actually won't have any fallout points either. However, should you miss a platform, you might have to run out of time. But okay, there's a solution for that. You'll be able to retry a level, at the cost of one life though. So you might want to use that option carefully. You will get warned before using it at least, so you won't have to worry about accidentally doing it.